Good evening and welcome to our monthly Redevelopment Commission meeting tonight for the city of Beech Grove. Tonight, August the 20th, 2020 at 7 p.m. or 1900 hours. My name is Elizabeth Lamping. I'm the president of the commission. We'll do a roll call. We'll do a roll call of each member, starting on my right.
Nathan Rinks. Oh, sorry, Vice President.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Bonnie Dickinson, member.
James Sigmund, member.
The next thing on the agenda is to welcome our new members, and we're very pleased to announce the council's vote for our two new members. And if they would like to take a moment of time just to tell a little bit about yourself, you're welcome to do that if you want to. But I can just have you start, Mrs. Dickinson.
Bonnie Dickinson, I live at 509 Beech. We lived here in Beech Grove for around 9 years back in the late 70s, early 80s. Came back in 2016 and hoping to see Beech Grove regain some of the simplicity that it had back in those years.
Very good.
Looking forward to doing whatever I can to provide information, research, or whatever will be helpful to the
Right.
commission.
Okay. And I apologize, I didn't give Mr. Skirvin a chance. Please, sir.
Oh, that's okay. Rick Skirvin, liaison to the school board.
Thank you for being here. The next on the agenda will be approving the minutes, and I apologize for my error.
James didn't get an opportunity.
Oh,
no.
he said he passed. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sorry.
You're all right,
That's
Nathan,
okay,
sorry.
thank you, thanks. The approval of minutes, and I apologize for the mistake on the agenda. I documented the 18th, it was the 11th of June. So if everyone's had a chance to review the minutes, we can get a motion to approve the minutes from June 11th, 2020.
You might want to make a correction on your name on the last page. Just the spelling.
Oh,
My
hey,
name wrong.
thank you.
Spelled my own name wrong. Okay, thank you, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
Great, thanks, Bonnie. So with the correction on the minutes before you post them, I guess.
I will. I send them to Jim.
Okay, very good. Any other corrections or changes? If we can have a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2020.
All motion.
Have a second? I'll make a second motion to approve the minutes for June 11th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. So we've approved the minutes for June 11th, 2020. Thank you so much. The next on our agenda is the claims docket. Mr. Kaufman was kind enough to send a breakdown of the accounts payable vouchers, so I hope everyone had a chance to review that. I did bring an extra copy, and I do have copies here. So if anybody has any questions, or any concerns about the accounts payable before I start, I get an opportunity to kind of voice that now.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
June 2nd,
Uh-huh,
you had a telephone meeting with,
uh-huh.
with Robert, okay, all right.
Yes.
What was that?
Probably had to do with our meeting for Mr. Peters. I didn't document or write down why we spoke, but I know we had to speak about getting prepared for the June 11th meeting. So I don't know if that was just for preparatory work, and I know that the attorneys helped with the agenda for that meeting. So I did not document myself specifically what that conversation was about, and I apologize if I can't be more specific than that.
That might have been, because we had to do that paperwork before June
Yes.
15th.
Yes,
It was-
we were required by statute to file with the Department of Local Government Finance a report of the RDC for the past year, and was getting ready for that report.
Right, and typically we do that in May,
We
because we
did.
normally don't have a June meeting, so we had to rush that meeting. I'm sure that's what that was
That's
about.
that's to my recollection, that's what we were discussing, the details of what we had to
Okay.
have for that
Yeah,
meeting.
I'm sure that's what it was, Nathan.
And
Okay.
I did have a couple questions
go ahead.
also. On 610, it's under the Lewis and Capps.
Uh-huh,
It just says review and edit minutes. I was wondering what minutes were being edited.
That was well, if it says minutes, it had to have been mine. We talked about my minutes, yeah. There were some additions and changes to the minutes before the meeting on June the 11th.
And we are aware of those additions and changes?
They were made before our meeting on the 11th. Yes,
Okay.
So that what you're talking about, the minutes from,
From the previous
which was the strictly telephonic meeting,
Yes.
which was in, what,
it
April?
was April 2nd, I think.
Yeah, so we would have been right around there, I think.
That's what that would have been.
Was it? Okay.
And then the second question was on Lewis and Capps again, 7/8 and 7/28. And just communications concerning new appointments to RDC. I was just wondering what that conversation was about.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I actually had the same question too, so.
Well, I know I had a question for Mr. Rund as far as how the vote was taking place, because I know that, that there was not an actual nomination process for the way the members were appointed, and I just had some questions for Mr. Rund to make sure that that was indeed a legitimate process for appointing. Now, that might have been part of that conversation there. Again, I didn't document it down when I had that conversation, but I know during the council meeting, the mayor did not specifically ask for somebody to be nominated and then each person voted on. So I had some questions about just the legitimacy of that voting process, but that was cleared and I had no further questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But thank you, good questions, we appreciate that. So if no other questions, I'll go ahead and proceed to read the accounts payable. First is from Regions Bank, RDC Professional Services, in the amount of $6.95 from July 7th, 2020. The second is Regions Bank Equipment Finance. That has to do with the RDC 2016 bond interest that was refinanced on 2005 and 2007, which was a RDC 2016 bond interest series 2016 for $9,300. Next is, and then next from July, I apologize, that was July 15th, and again, July 15th, Regions Bank Equipment Finance, RDC 2016 bond principal free financed. Then this was the RDC 2016 bond principal. That payment was in the amount of $255,000. Next, from July 7, Peters Municipal Consultants, RDC Professional Services, $914.53. Next is July 7, Lewis and Capps, RDC Professional Services, in the amount of $1,562.30. The total docket amount to be paid is $266,783.78. If no questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the payment of our docket for tonight, August 20th, 2020.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the docket signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. So we'll need to have each person sign.
Give me a sign, just
I've
start
got-
this one, or?
That'll be fine. You can just do that one and pass it on down. Yep, perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Or Mr. Vice President.
Hey,
I was wondering what happened to that. See the expiration date on it?
I forgot mine
It's
in
from
my
the
car,
hospital.
so.
Yeah. And then we'll give this to you or to Kathy to give to Jim. I forget how we did that.
I'll be here tomorrow. I
The
can-
docket. Do you need a copy of it? Thank you, sir. All right, Kathy. So that's done, and you don't need a copy, okay.
Okay.
All right, so claims are done. Next on our agenda is discussion of the budget plan for 2021. So before I open anything up, and I did send emails, I had a conversation with the mayor a couple of days ago, so this would be an add-on. There is a request, a paving project request not to exceed $50,000 for paving the 2 basketball courts in the park. And there was a question also, and the attorney will address this, for the painting, and that's to be determined. And the mayor would like for us to consider this and vote on it so that we can go ahead and get this project moving during this current paving season, because I guess they've got the people, the process, everybody there to start the project, so this would work out well. And from what I understand, and hopefully, if anybody has the question, it's not just to resurface, it's not just to pave over, it's to take up the surface and do a deeper,
It's
more
not just a coating.
not just a coating, yeah.
Well, who's heading up this project? Is it the Parks Department?
It would be a Parks Department project, yes. It's in a TIF district, though. Both
Right.
parks are in our consolidated TIF area.
I'm on the Parks Department, it's the first I heard of it.
Are you on the Parks Board?
I was gonna say, why didn't the Parks Department bring this to us then?
The money would come from the city. From what I understand, the city would be paying for this, and the
Let
mayor.
me clarify, it needs
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I
You
understand.
know, I have no, I've seen the
I went and
basketball
took
courts.
pictures. It is, I mean, there's nothing there that would trip anyone.
Well, it's the water that
cracks.
comes down the hill that goes across.
The water on the lower one does create some damage,
Yeah.
but, I mean, they can still play on it.
Yeah,
There's not anything that would trip anyone up.
no.
And the mayor did say that this information was brought to him just recently during their budget discussion process. So it's something that he wasn't aware of. He just himself found out that this is something that we could help with. And it's not a maintenance, so it's gonna be money's used for, in the
Do you know, I
public
mean,
way.
what are the plans, do you know, I mean, you said you don't know, so I'm just asking, picking your brain if you
Yeah,
know,
I
like,
mean,
what do you
things
think?
change, things develop, money gets moved around, so I'm sure it's something that's come about in the last 4 weeks.
Okay,
But it does need, the one needs elevated, for sure, because the water, there's a natural spring right there. Tom doesn't even cut the grass because it's constantly coming up.
talking about back along the fence, the tree line, or is that where it's coming in from?
It's
or-
on the west side of the creek, where the basketball courts are, just south of the basketball courts. So that's bubbling with water constantly and then coming down the hill, so I can imagine that even though we haven't had a couple of days of rain, there's probably
Yeah.
water sitting on that lower court.
How bad
No,
is the,
there
cra- I haven't,
wasn't any.
I'll be honest, I haven't been there.
No, I went and
I
took
don't
pictures,
either.
there's
I
no
don't.
water on it at all.
I went down there
And-
before I come here.
And I know
that was
this,
after the big storm.
and then this is not a drainage fix project, it's,
No,
just
no,
for the
but-
paving, yeah,
But I'm sure it will help, I'm sure they'll
Yeah.
elevate it, I can't imagine them not.
yeah.
But is that part of the mission for RDC?
Well,
I mean, if you read the front page on the website, it says businesses. Is that part of the mission?
It's redevelopment of things within a redevelopment area, and
Well, I understand but is that the mission of this commission right now? Because that's not what it says on there.
I would think, though, that it falls under maintenance of a TIF district. That is definitely maintenance of something, not a redevelopment.
Yeah, I think that ought to fall under Parks Department.
well, I
Sorry.
know we discussed, there was a question about painting that would, I think Mr. Run can explain.
Painting what?
Painting the lines and
lines
the
on
different, the line, but that would be more
If
maintenance.
they redo it.
But the paving, we know the RDC has done paving projects in other areas of the city.
Oh, yeah.
I right now can't,
I have a question. Is the water creating the cracks and everything in it?
You know, I do not know, I'm not a,
The water is
The water
only
goes
on the
up.
lower
I know,
one.
if it's coming down the hill and it's on the other side too, that means it's going all the way underneath there, and it's causing the thing to crack.
well, there's, I mean, erosion, water
I don't know.
erosion can happen, you know, and that's true, yeah. Well, I mean, water erosion happens across anything that's surfaced. So, you know, it wasn't, he didn't ask for us to do any drainage or erosion issue projects,
Well,
it
I'm
was.
not saying that,
yeah.
I'm just asking if it keeps on doing that, is there, maybe they need to move it or something, I mean,
Move the
the whole port, so that it's not have that problem anymore.
Cause I was down there tonight before I come here. How many times has it been resurfaced? Cause it's
Yeah.
been more than once.
I do not know. Yeah.
Okay.
How old are the
I've been on
courts?
the Parks Board for 13 years, and it hasn't been done since I've been there.
Yeah, I know
It's 2 layers, I know.
it's been a while since, I don't recall them ever doing anything to the basketball courts in the last 12 years I've been here too. I don't,
Okay. I was just
I don't
curious
doubt it needs to be done,
Where the money comes from is the doubt.
and I'm not necessarily opposed to using RDC funds to invest in our park. I don't think that's ever a bad play if it's a TIF district and it's allowable. There's just not a lot of information here. I mean, I would kind of like to know, I mean, if someone was here from the park and said, this is what we're doing, we're raising it up, or, you know, if that's what you think it needs, and I trust you, I know you know.
I can get
what
an
you're talking-
email to Tom Hannon and ask if he can, does this have to be decided at this meeting?
I did ask the mayor specifically if he wanted us to move on this, and he did request that we did, so. And I asked if he was planning on being here tonight, and he said he was not able to come to the meeting, so. I tried to think of all the questions I could think of, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly consider it, but I just, without somebody from the parks that kind of explaining, it just feels like we're saying, okay, here's money, and without, like, I mean, if you said, like, this is what we're doing, I could probably say yes, but I mean, you know,
Pretty
you ask me to
vague.
invest in the parks, I'm always gonna be interested in doing that if it's within our budget, but I just don't know what we're doing here.
And like I said.
And I'm concerned, because I know Rick usually knows what's going on with the parks, but this is even news to you, so it's kind of like, right, this is a really new project, and I'd like to know.
Are you
About
texting
it.
Tom by any chance right
I am.
now?
Oh, good for you, good for you.
No, I was
Did you
gonna
have something to
ask
say, Mr.
if
Hall?
you could ask him what good it would do to replace all that if there hasn't been something done about the water to start with. I mean, if we can't fix the drainage,
Yeah, we're
then
just
won't it just happen again?
Yes.
drinking from a
That's-
cup
that
with a
was
hole in it.
question
I just saw you messing with your phone.
And
I
what
thought
were we
maybe-
talking about with the painting? I'm sorry.
Well,
Painting the line.
the
Well, if
request,
you were just coating it and painting it, that would be maintenance,
okay,
clearly. If you're reconstructing the whole thing and you also paint it, that's probably still okay in
Okay.
terms of what you expend money for. But let's say that 4 years from now, it needs new
Okay.
painted lines. You
Okay.
can't do that with,
so the request was for the paving and the painting, both, that was the request. For painting the new lines for the basketball court.
All right, so you have to explain it. So you're saying if they're redoing it and raising it up or reconstructing it,
if you're reconstructing.
that would
it,
be technically allowable. But if they're just resurfacing and painting
If
it,
they're putting a
then it
coat,
wouldn't
new
be
paint on it, no.
allowable.
Just a coat,
But we don't know what they're doing at this point, do we?
We do know that it's a repaving and not a coating. We do know that, but the,
Gary, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I did, I was just trying to be courteous.
Go ahead.
First of all, I appreciate the open up dialogue you guys have, this is great, thank you very much for that.
Can you come up here only so you can be on,
Do I have to be? I mean,
well, no, you don't have to, but
okay, well,
Actually, that was one thing I was gonna suggest, because I listened to a lot of these on the recording.
it's hard to hear.
And if they don't come up here, you can't hear what they're talking about.
and I
Thank
just
you.
followed protocol, I signed in, so I
Thank
just
you,
didn't know, so I
thank you.
apologize. So anyways, Gary Hall, 238 South 6, and again, thank you for your transparency, I really appreciate that as a citizen and taxpayer. First of all, today, just by the luck of the draw, I had lunch with Tom. It was in a parking lot eating a hot dog. And that discussion came up because I appreciate Tom's dedication to our city. The guy works 70 hours in a 40-hour week, and everyone knows that, and I truly appreciate that. Even Tom, the director, of the Parks and Rec, he was uncertain to, the severity of what was required today. And it was just an open conversation, because I think it's great what Tom does. I run through the park every day. Today, 2 hours ago, I was running through there, stopped, talked to a couple kids, just trying to interact with kids. And there are cracks. You can't trip over them. And I think Nathan hit it right on the head. It's something that can be done, but if, this is an opportunity, guys. If you just come together and start doing little things good, positive. Now, legal counsel, it's a TIF district, but does it generate economic development and growth? And that's what we need to be looking at. The way it lies, when you jog around, when I jog around the corner, I can look over there. That lower court is at street level or lower than the creek. And when that creek goes up, the water goes there. So engineering, it's just engineered bad. But back in the day, as a kid, I played on that. Money could be spent better and wiser. You go down there, and if there's 5 guys playing ball, you're lucky. So do we need 2 courts? Or do we need to elevate it? And then you're talking major reconstruction, major money. And even Tom brought up the thing, again, I respect Tom's judgment, he's a smart guy. 50,000, he said that was and he stated someone approached him about that. So again, if we were smart as a city government, you've got parks over here, they should have a line item about that development. They shouldn't just be throwing money at things at the end of the year. This isn't federal government, and that's what we're doing. We're just throwing money against the wall. So, and Tom's got that ability to include all chiefs of the departments. If they were more accountable for their budget, there'd be a lot more organization. There'd be even accountability. If someone can't, monitor overtime or their budget, they need to be dealt with severely as an employee. But we need to do more for our citizens. And again, this is a great opportunity. Thank you for your transparency, your discussion. And new members, thanks for your service. Thanks for your time.
So, real quick, Mr. Hall, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So what did he say specifically about the need for the paving with your conversation?
Specifically, he doesn't really know
Okay,
the severity of it.
okay.
Because you put paint on it, you're just painting a pig, is all you're doing.
Well, no, yeah.
You're putting BG,
But for the repaving, the impression you got from your conversation with him that he didn't imply that this paving of the courts was something that he didn't really even request, or even, so you were not sure, even his,
he was not sure, not me.
Okay.
Because I think it's a waste of money, if you ask me personally. But on the other hand, too, so again, you have a department head that's not here making this decision with you guys.
Okay.
Either wrong with that, he should be here. The mayor's too busy, okay, whatever. So the department head should have that authority. It should give you a professional, this is what we need to do, because he's a smart guy. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, as far as, it sounds like with the discussion, then can we table this until I have an opportunity? So, I mean, we can, after the discussion, does the council, the members want to just table this until I can have an opportunity to get more specifics, or get Tom Hannon to come?
Unless he
or
calls
somebody?
me, I'd send a message, so we'll see.
Okay.
Well, I think even then, it sounds like, come to me with an actual, like a specific project,
Yeah,
and then I can look at it, but I can't, and we don't know, I'm not gonna vote for something I don't know. I can't do that right now. I don't think that's right.
It's still actually maintenance, and that's something we don't do, is maintenance.
Right.
And, like Mr. Hall said, I think our money can be better spent. I think our money is needed in other areas
Right.
above this. I mean, it's a great, like you say, parks are always a great thing to make them beautiful and wonderful and usable, but the basketball courts are still usable. They don't look good, but they're still usable. The kids didn't care. There were kids there, and I talked to them. They were like, oh, there's cracks here? So.
I came before the meeting, there's about 50 kids down there playing. The only thing they're concerned about is the double rims. They want a single rim put up.
well,
Double rim versus single rim?
Yeah, there's it's a double layered rim up there, and they just want a single layered rim.
I didn't even know that was a thing. But I'm a terrible basketball player, so.
Doesn't give you a true bounce off the board.
Oh, it doesn't?
so,
I played football. It was just a ball.
So-
I wouldn't
That
say
and
table
bleachers.
it, I would
That
just
was
say
the thing
vote
they
and
asked.
vote no.
Yeah.
Or
So-
I would
so-
vote no.
just to give the parties that were presenting this, I don't know that even table is the word to use, then we could just revisit it. So if you want to vote no on this motion, and the appropriate requesters can come and state their case and give us a more detailed discussing their budget and everything else, so we just want to say, I can open it, just vote yes or no on it, so,
Or you can table it.
table it, just, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should table it.
Just vote to-
However, I disagree about it being maintenance if it's bulldozed and rebuilt. I don't call that maintenance, but I do if we were to just surface and paint. That I do call
Well,
maintenance.
then let's do this then, let's
So
start with the
It would have to be
tabling.
bulldozed for us to agree to that.
I mean, I would want to, honestly, I would want to read more, but I mean, I think I don't know if I'm not a big fan of the semantic argument between maintenance and not maintenance, and I don't know if we need to be going down that road either. So, if there's a specific project someone wants to present, and it is not a semantic issue, and it is actually like, this fits with what we can do, I am interested. But that's what I'd want to see. I think that gives us time. We're meeting next month, I assume, right?
So, I mean, so are you okay with just tabling it and revisit it, or is that an acceptable way to proceed?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, honestly, I think we should, anybody who's listening to
Yeah.
this, if you have a project
Yeah.
that you want done and you believe is in a TIF district, come to us with it. Come to us with a
Give us some
project that
detail.
you think we can spend money on that will help the city.
Okay,
Same with the parks. If there's something in a TIF area in a park that you think will help the city, if you think the basketball courts are, but come to me with a project that I can wrap my head around. I kind of need to see it. I just would have to see it.
okay. So how about if I request a motion to table the motion for the paving project in the park, the basketball courts? If I can have a motion to table, I would accept that.
Well, did we even vote on them? I
No,
mean,
we never made a motion.
I don't think we need to, because I don't think,
Okay,
I think you can ask, I think, would it be,
It's just discussion.
you have a motion, someone asked, like, if you're saying you want to do a motion to,
or just.
Vote on this.
But we're just gonna table the motion, the request, until we can get further outside interest, or we can just drop it off the agenda. Mr. Ryan, I guess it's okay to just drop it, and I'll just talk with,
Yeah, and then just bring it up again if it comes up.
I mean, tabling it just means it needs further discussion.
Correct.
And we could do it either way. I don't know that there's a problem with that. I was just, tabling it would just be an option for us to come back and revisit later, but
I think we can still bring it up
okay.
next month
So
too, can't we? Can we
We're gonna
not?
pass then. We're gonna pass on the motion. Is that a best way of putting it?
Sure.
We're gonna pass on the motion for the paving project. And I will, if you get anything, Mr. Skirvin I'll send a message out to Tom Hanna, and then I'll discuss it with the mayor and see if they can come with a
He's a
little
busy
bit.
guy, he's probably out cutting grass now.
Yeah.
When I worked night shift, I literally saw him one night with the headlights of his truck on, hauling limbs away. And we hadn't had a rain or anything. He was just working on a tree.
7 days a week that guy goes.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like it. Never
Can we
seen anything like it.
invite him to the next meeting?
We can certainly, I'll send him an email and we'll see about inviting him to the next meeting, yes. I'll see how I'll do some detail work on that and I'll let you know, okay? We can just discuss the budget plan for 2021. And I did want to bring to everyone's attention that we have available for possible assistance with the development of the CSX property. And the amount was for at least a $240,000, and it would be the entrance to help with the entrance of the Big Four and Garstang, and then there's a possibility of something, and that's kind of vague, I know, but that's just to keep everybody's attention on. It sounds like a possibility of the RDC becoming involved in helping and assisting with the development of that CSX property. Has anybody had an opportunity to go out to Big Four and Garstang to see how that's cleaning up? That's pretty
So
impressive.
who's
Yeah.
cleaning it up?
We're not cleaning it up. The city's not cleaning up. The
would be
Heritage.
Heritage
The
Group.
owner of the property's cleaning it up. The city's not paying anything to clean it up. What we would be doing as the RDC would be helping with the entrance of the property, and then
Which would be used for,
the whoever, the potential developers, which will bring more, it'd be TIF and bring more revenue, and any development out there is gonna help the assessed value of the city. So that's clearly an RDC project.
Except for we don't know what's going.
No,
in.
we don't know. We're just to keep an open mind for potential use of our RDC money.
Oh, so you're not coming to us with a
Nope.
request? Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Nope, it's just, again, open discussion, there's a possibility for us to assist with that development.
And we have the 650 or the 650,000 coming back,
We haven't spent it.
We haven't spent
it.
any of that.
Yeah,
but that's coming back at the end of the year into the RDC budget, correct?
And our commitment was up to 600,000, but I think the sewer estimate was about 250,000, so it's much lower than we anticipated.
So we didn't set aside 650,000 for that?
We did not.
It was budgeted, I mean, it was budgeted for up to 600,000, right? Or was it
Correct.
650? Okay.
So if you didn't set it aside, where were you getting it from if we had to use it?
That was-
TIF revenues.
What TIF revenue? Because that 650 is the TIF revenue, from what my understanding. So what TIF revenue were we getting it from?
The general consolidated TIF revenues for the whole,
What year?
It's in the budget for this year.
For 2020,
Yeah.
but we
were-
didn't have it for 2020.
we had the revenues. We didn't need to make the expenditure because,
But
They
you didn't
never-
have 650 to spend is what I heard.
no, we had more than that. So
So if they wanted $650, $650,000, the 1st of June, we would have had $650,000 to give them?
not-
Where
not to-
did,
Not to give them, to relocate the sewer.
to relocate the sewer? So where did the money go if we don't have it now? If we won't have it at the end of the year?
We will have, we haven't spent it. We're not spending it.
No, Kathy just said, no, we wouldn't have it. We have 200 and some, is what she said.
The
She said
estimate
the-
was $250,000. We were planning on it being up to 600,000.
Correct.
It came in around 250.
But Mr. Rudd just said, at June 1st, we would
didn't
have
say
had the 650,000, and you said, no, we don't have it. So I'm just trying to find out, if we were going to give 650,000 to put in the sewers, but we didn't have it, where was that money coming from?
It was from,
We did have it.
we did have that, but that's not what
But
we
but we
ended
don't
up
have
having
to
to
spend
have.
it. So, I mean,
Where did it go if we?
it didn't go
It didn't
anywhere.
go.
It's still there.
I think she misspoke. I'm not sure where you're going with this, but
Well, I'm just wondering, so at the end of the year, we have 650,000 to add on at this point, now whether we spend anymore. We have 650,000 to add on to our next year's budget of 749,000 or something.
if we don't spend 600,000 on the Heritage Group, we will have 600,000 that we can spend on another project.
So
What
at
she
the
was
end of the
saying
year,
was-
we have that if to add to, it's in our budget, which means if it's in our budget, it should be in our bank account. So that money is there to use?
Once the taxes are paid.
Yeah, it's there.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But
More than that
I
is
think we're
there.
still in
But that's
limbo.
what was budgeted.
Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're still in limbo because of the COVID and the backing off of taxes getting paid and stuff. We still don't know what we're gonna be at.
But we were not, we were only under, I don't remember, it was a couple meetings ago when Jim said, what did we come in under? 8, 9%, maybe 13% below what our expected was, Gary, do you
I think
remember?
so.
It wasn't,
I think
it wasn't as
Wasn't
bad as
much
we thought it was.
here, Yeah.
And then,
In general, or you guys' budget?
I'm just talking in general, like the losses were not as bad as was expected.
and then keep in mind that,
Jeff Peters, his point was, it was an unknown factor at that time.
Right.
As the variable, and when he stood back here and spoke to me about it, he just kind of said it's a crap shot. Because, you know, with COVID, how long will
Right.
it go? What's your basis? I mean, your base, there's no established baseline.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
No, we've got the revenue. It's
I'm not talking about
it's
previous years.
2021 that's the,
That's what we're talking about.
and keep in mind, there were also some uncertainties about the Crossroad engineers, what we were going to be left what our responsibility was going to be left with Crossroad Engineers, and, because the original monies that we were trying to figure out how all these moving pieces were gonna happen, was we were thinking we were obligated to a considerable amount of money for the completion of the Crossroad Engineers project, which would start the trail. But from the way I don't have a solid answer, but from the way I understand now, maybe Kathy knows, but from what I understand, we're not obligated to any further costs for the Franciscan Trail. Is that, we don't,
Which
not
was
100% clear.
180,000?
We're not 100% clear on that quite
Did
yet,
Buckley say
correct?
that you guys get some of that money back from the general?
I think the clerk treasurer is still kind of working through those accounting issues. That's how I understand.
And the only question I have was the money that was supposed to go to CVX Milestone Sewer, which I understand is not being followed through on.
Right.
That 650,000 should then be in our budget, in our bank account.
Right.
You
So
can
if
ask-
we wanted to, I don't know, do something else for 650,000, we could write a check for it today.
Well, you would have to clear that with the clerk treasurer. I'm not gonna sit here and say that we can write a check for 650,000.
No,
I would say, talk with the
not
clerk
say that.
treasurer. The clerk treasurer handles our money. He's the one who knows what we have clearly, and I'm not going to say on record that we could write a check for $650,000 anywhere.
No, I'm just trying to find out where is the 650?
The clerk treasurer could
Mr.
answer
Rudd
that
is
question.
saying that it's in our bank account.
Well, I'm saying that we had enough money to pay that, as well as more. You'll have to talk with Mr. Kaufman about
Yes.
where it's physically at.
And we have to keep in mind that TIF money, the purpose of TIF money and why we have an RDC, we have to set projects and we have to have
Sure.
a mission. And we have to have an idea of how we want to do for redevelopment for properties, as you're passionately all about, because it would help the assessed value of the city, help the assessed value of our homes. So, we're just, dialogue is good, but we do have to
Which
make
does-
sure that we use this money for progress and redevelopment.
Right,
Yeah.
which brings up a point that I had. Does the RDC and the council come together to make some kind of decision or suggestion on properties or things that need to be done in the city so that we can then determine where that money goes? Or,
The RDC and the count, and the common council are two separate. They're two
Right,
separate. One doesn't lead the other.
no, but they are both working to
Sure.
make Beech Grove better.
Sure.
So, to me, it would behoove us to meet with them at least to decide,
Well, I give them a report at every meeting, so.
no, I'm talking about our budget. We're talking about our budget. So, who does the budget? Who decides where the different monies are going? Who decided
We do,
where the
for the
600?
RDC, for the RDC.
Just the RDC?
We do, right here, we do.
These
We
five?
decide where the money is
We
going to be
don't take
spent.
any input from the council as like, maybe they would have said, these things need to be redone down at the park,
Anybody could present it, just like we talked about the paving.
but we don't meet with them.
We have
don't
not met, I
a-
mean, this is my first year too, so no, to my,
Yeah,
since
you
we
can
have been here,
correct me,
we've not
no,
met,
we don't
but
have, we don't have established RDC common council meetings, no.
Okay, thank
but
you.
that's not a bad idea,
But
and we could
Yeah, I don't
certainly,
think it'd be a
You
great
could certainly email, I mean, you're a member, you could,
3 million is
you could, but you could set up, you could send an email to any of the council people. with
Well,
this
we did
exact-
have a joint meeting
Yeah.
back in, I don't remember what month it was, but it was about CSX property.
Mm-hmm.
But you
But it
don't
wasn't
have
joint
one
meeting.
on
It was-
just
no,
coming up with the
strictly
new
about
budget?
CSX.
Okay.
Not for.
I was just thinking it'd be a good idea to discuss it back and forth, not that we'd make any decision, but we might get some ideas from.
In fairness, you can't put it all on the RDC, because the council can also come to you and ask for projects, the way the Parks Department in the past has done
Right.
about certain things as well.
And that's a good point. The council has through the mayor, has come to the RDC.
So, Rick, what did you say, that you can't put it all on the RDC?
Yeah, because it's a two-way street, you know, the council can also come to the RDC.
Right.
If a councilman wants to put in a request for something in their district, or even for the whole city.
So so it would be okay for me to go to all the different council
Sure.
people and say, do you have any
You're
suggestions?
absolutely-
Do you have any ideas?
Absolutely, you were
Great
appointed by,
idea.
great idea, you were appointed by the council.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. No, there's no restrictions on what you can do as a member. You were appointed by the council. So absolutely, Bonnie, I would encourage it. Absolutely. Right. So, we'll get together, we'll discuss, I mean, with the budget, I've never done a budget for an RDC. I'll be the first to be honest with you, and how this comes in, I'm gonna get with Mr. Kaufman. He'll guide me, he'll help me, right now, so all we're gonna have then on the allocated projections for monies is, I suppose if I don't know that we need to even vote on, we'll wait till we get.
Well, if we're gonna meet on the budget.
We don't need to vote on
Right.
anything. as
But
far
if
as
you're
the
gonna
budget.
meet with him about the budget,
Yeah,
obviously, we can't all meet with him about the
Right,
budget, or
right,
else
right.
we wouldn't be allowed to.
Right. Right.
The only thing we had in the budget for
2021 is,
the greenway, engineering, and sewage infrastructure.
But
And
that-
that was where the
Right.
600,000 came in. But it ended up being a $250,000
The
expense.
cost,
not
but we budgeted 650,
Right.
so it should have been there.
So we'll have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Money left over.
well, if Heritage, it sounds like Heritage Group still is interested in getting some money from us, but they're gonna have to bring a project to
Right,
us.
right,
I would
Right, right,
be happy to, but
just-
I'm gonna need to see what are you
yes.
putting on
absolutely.
the property.
Right, absolutely.
Tell me you're putting something on the
Yes,
property.
absolutely.
Right.
So if you're gonna meet with him with the budget, I would recommend,
So-
since we're the mayor's
Right.
appointees, I think then a council appointee probably needs to meet with you too.
And I don't know that, when I say meet, I was gonna have correspondence or dialogue with them. I think Jim Kaufman actually kind of said we don't have to have a budget per se.
But we don't really have expenses other than what we
Right,
vote on.
right. And I don't think anything for 2021 from Crossroad, from the Franciscan Trail, none of that's gonna carry over to 2021.
From what I understand, no, there
Okay,
won't be an
okay.
expense from Franciscan Trail. It'll
Because
be
the-
the law firms, the financial consultant.
All that's gonna be done in 2020.
So we have an issue that, since I've been back here in Beech Grove, has been a big issue,
Okay.
are the sewers, the manholes. Why aren't we taking some of our money to fix those? What we can. I mean, we have 500 manholes, $5,000 each, 2.5 million.
But would that be
Could we do
maintenance?
half
Is
of them?
that-
Could we
that's-
do a quarter of them?
Is that maintenance? I don't know that.
No, sewers is definitely
Okay.
listed. It's actually listed, sewer infrastructure,
Okay.
under the
Depends on
RDC.
what you're doing to them.
Right.
Well, infrastructure, it seems, just my opinion, it seems kind of like we're not doing our job in keeping Beech Grove strong when we're letting our foundation, which is our infrastructure, our sewer, when we're letting it decay underneath us and trying to pretty things up above it. How many people are gonna wanna come to Beech Grove? We have a pretty park, we have a pretty whatever, but then they hear you have poop in your basement. I just think we're going at it at the wrong way. We can't make it pretty from the top down. We have to start bottom up, shore up the bottom, and then we can start working on the top.
Well, I'm sure the mayor would be extremely ecstatic if we hand over $100,000s of dollars to help with the sewer system. We will certainly have him come to we'll have him come before the commission and we'll discuss it. If
Okay,
you want
but
to
why do we have to discuss it with the mayor when we are the ones doing
Because
it?
he would be setting the project, he's the mayor, he would know where to start with. We can't just go hire a contractor and say, hey, fix the sewer.
No,
There has to
the city would have to do that,
There
but
has
if-
to be a coordinated effort
Yes.
with the administration of the
Yes.
city, because it's a department, it comes through, it would be the DPW department, there's a lot of other
But I'm
moving
talking about making the decision that we would take some money
Sure.
to,
Sure.
I don't know, choose,
Sure.
25 manhole covers
Okay,
that
They
we
would
want
have
to
to be in a
start
TIF
on.
district, all right?
Yes.
No, they don't. Not according to your booklet that the state puts out. It's a unit within this, it's within the unit. The unit is the city. So if
Just
we
because
read our
it's in the-
booklet,
Just because it's in the city doesn't mean that we can spend TIF revenues. It depends on the nature of what it is. It depends on how, whether it's physically connected, like, let's say, a road. It's not just because it's in Beech Grove.
and again, when you read the booklet, and I'm sure it says at the end of the end of this booklet, it says, this is not legal advice. That booklet's not legal advice, there's our legal advice, and that's, you go according to the legal advice on these projects. And I'm sure the booklet does say,
which was done by lawyers,
but it's not, Mr. Runkin explained that to you, but it's not, this is, and it does, the disclaimer's in there, it's not legal advice, correct?
That is correct.
Bonnie, if you have a project you want us to consider
Yes, absolutely.
I
within the
just can make
sewers,
a motion, right?
sure.
Yeah, so that's the way we would do it, is I would make a motion that we would take some money.
I mean,
Yeah, you can,
No, I'm not gonna make it now, because I know what it
you,
would be
you
right
can,
now.
yeah.
No, I'm just-
I don't know if, I mean,
it would be just like, we couldn't just make a motion, no more than we could make a motion for the paving for the for the basketball courts. So yes, if you got solid information on a project and you want to research it, go to your city council, I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to be argumentative, I just,
No.
by what I read,
Clearly
that we as a city, as an RDC commission should be doing, I don't see that we should be dressing up the city. I see that we should be saving the city from deteriorating.
well, I mean, people are, I would disagree that our city's deteriorating, one. Two, people are moving into Beech Grove in droves. I mean, you can't hardly find a house in Beech Grove because the minute
Which
it goes
means
on.
people are moving out in droves.
Well, let me finish. It also means that people are selling their houses and oftentimes selling it for over list with multiple offers. I mean,
Yeah. just-
Rick, you and Rob just
Yeah, we outbid
got in
each
a bidding
other.
war over a house that needs a lot of work. Every house in my neighborhood is sold now for higher than they were built 20 years ago.
Okay?
And
then
they're
I-
selling in days, if not in
And I
minutes.
just want to come back with, are we getting the young professionals we want? Are we getting the young professionals that are going to help our city improve as it goes along?
Do you think buying manholes is going to attract a young professional or?
I think if we take our manholes and shore them up, rebuild them however they have to be done to where we're not getting 40% groundwater in our sewers, it's not going to be backing up into people's basements. Once people come, you have young professionals come here, if they have a basement and one time they get their sewage in their basement, they're gonna be gone. Because there's no way for them to fix it. Because that's coming from the Beech Grove sewer lines and manholes, not from their responsibility, which is from their property line back into their house, most of the time. Now, some of the times it could be. But I think, yes, I think that if you're not gonna shore up the city, which you say it's not deteriorating, that's all I've heard for the 4 years we've been here, that our sewer system is deteriorating. We need
Sewer
to get
system
rid of
is,
it.
absolutely.
Sewer
And I'm not sure that that's an RDC, I don't think that's an RDC project. Now, the
Well,
city
how
itself,
come
I mean,
we-
what I would say is, go down on Main Street and talk to the young people who are moving in here, who are excited, or talk to the parents who are active at our schools, who have kids here, who spend a lot of time here and have moved here. the people that are trying to buy houses here.
Why do you say it's not an RDC thing when in the book and on our web pages,
I'm not arguing that it might say it's legally an RDC thing. I'm not so sure that it's a project that we should be getting involved
okay,
in.
now that's different. I can understand that.
I'm not gonna argue the book. I've read the book. I get it. We went down this road a few months ago. We can argue that book all day, or we can,
Well,
Do projects.
And there's no argument about the infrastructure failure of communities all across the nation. There's no argument. And if you just look at the headlines in newspapers from every municipality around us, you look at raising sewer rates, it's all about, the sewer, the infrastructure, and the needs and the costs and the monies that it takes to do that. So it's not just limited to Beech Grove. These issues are municipal issues everywhere. And speaking of home property, I have a little two-bedroom home that's a 950 at least square foot house on 13th. Just for chagrins, I wanted to see what it would be like to take advantage of a lower interest rate. When I was doing this, I just thought, well, my house probably, I think I paid $72,000. It's close to being paid off. And I thought, well, probably 90. The bank came back and said it's worth $128,000. I couldn't believe that. My little house with no garage.
and you
no
probably have
garage,
people fighting for
a
it.
shed,
Yeah.
a shed in the backyard is now worth $128,000 on 13th. So I'm thinking, so I want to just say we're going to have more optimism about who we are, what our goals are, and what our progress that we want to make. And you've got a lot of good points, and I appreciate them, but we're going to be more optimistic and positive about who we are as a city and how we can improve the assessed value for the city, which means assessed value for our homes. And Kathy can vouch for the things that the RDC has done in the past. I mean, this Franciscan Trail is going to be tremendous. The Beech Grove, the unit over off of, that was a rock pile, the RDC helped with the Beech Grove station. I mean, you could just name off many things that this RDC has helped, and it has clearly helped with the assessed value of the city.
And I
Clearly
wasn't,
has helped with the assessed value of the city.
I wasn't bringing that into question. I was just saying, I think at this time, money could be used in a project that is
Absolutely.
clearly a huge elephant in the city. I just think that's where the money should
Well,
go if
and-
they're available.
And perhaps maybe you can do research and see how many RDCs and other municipalities use RDC money to fix sewers. Just
Oh,
maybe-
definitely,
Just check that
definitely.
out. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome to find out.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but
Find out how many.
I'm not gonna go buy $200,000 worth of manholes if the city's not gonna put in
And I know
200 in kind to do some improvements to the sewer.
Well, yeah, I would
That's
think
not
that
our
it-
responsibility to step in where the city is not when it comes to the sewers.
If the
City has a responsibility to fix the sewers,
If the city got a grant, we could
Yeah, and the
help
city's
pay for
working
it.
on a grant.
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
But then how can we help the city get a grant? What can we do as an
We have a
RDC
grant
group?
writer, don't we?
I don't think, RDC doesn't have a grant writer.
No, I mean
But
the city.
The city, I don't think they have a grant writer per se. There's people that write grants and do grants, but that's something that's,
We
And
should.
Nathan,
Yeah, I absolutely
would be
agree.
nice.
I really appreciate that because I think that's exactly what we need to be doing, is saying, that's why I said the city and the RDC working together. Here's something that everyone knows, it's a huge problem. How can we reconcile this and make it right? What can we do? Because it's not going away. How do we solve it? What do we do with it? And if we could, as a city and an RDC, come together and say, okay, the city will put this up, we'll put this up.
Sure, that's what they do in
Let's work
projects.
together.
That's exactly what they do
But I
with the
will,
Franciscan Trail. That's exactly what we were gonna do with the project. If Milestone was gonna come to CSX, that's exactly what we did when you did the station. Exactly, that's exactly what the city and the council works together with these projects all the time.
thank you.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for
Yeah.
Nathan. Is there a plan, a comprehensive plan yet for police in the Greenway?
We haven't started working on that yet. It's gonna fall on me to start developing that plan once we get well, I wouldn't say it's gonna fall on me, but the SROs in the summer are going to be doing a lot of the patrolling. We'll be doing some bike projects, stuff like that, which is something I did do Greenway patrol when I was down in North Carolina. So it's really not gonna be too taxing of an issue. It's actually should be pretty good deal.
I'm worried that we're gonna be stretched. Do you think we need more officers?
Well, I don't think we'll need more officers to patrol it, to be honest, because during the peak times when it's busy, I mean, I think we can do it with the manpower we have. I know they're going to be adding some naturally, and that should work it. But when we have our 3 officers that are SROs, and once summer hits, and you have breaks, we should be able to handle it pretty easy. I don't think it's going to be. There's been some like horror stories about greenways. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I've worked greenways that run through some really terrible areas, and yeah, that's a little different. This is
Is the
nowhere near.
Greenway gonna be open 24 hours a day, or just like the parks?
I think there'll be a time frame on it, if I remember, if I recollect correctly. I mean, I think there'll be signage up, but, I mean, it's not fenced in, and it's not gated, so.
I mean, yeah, there could be traffic flow in there. I'll be honest, the Greenway came before me, before I came on here, so I only
mean, I think
know.
just like any parks, we have postings on our parks, you're not to be in the park past a certain time.
Right, 10
I'm sure
o'clock,
there'll
I
be
think.
postings on it, and I can't remember the exact verbiage, but there again, it's not gated, it's not fenced, it's not, electrified, so, I mean, there, you
And-
know, yeah.
Will it be policed 24 hours or just those opened hours? Do you know that?
I think that's part of the plan he's gonna come up with.
Okay. So it's not what you were talking about, there is no plan now as far as,
Not yet.
okay.
Correct.
So, and Mr. Rund, if you could just help us out to understand, if we have monies that needs to be allocated to help with development and progress, if we stall out and we don't progress and use the money, what's the repercussions of that? Is there an oversight of the State Board of Accounts, of the Indiana State municipals, whatever? Is there, you know, because the RDC's obligation is to move this TIF money throughout.
If we have money that exceeds our debt plus our budgeted redevelopment items, then the money would return to the overlapping taxing districts. And it would have the effect of lowering the TIF.
Yeah. So that could hurt us, that could hurt our revenue source and hurt us.
Yes, but it's your debt, which is our bonds, plus what you've budgeted.
And right now.
And that's why annually, the RDC passes a resolution at this point in time, because
Yeah.
we still have the outstanding bonds, saying that we don't have sufficient revenues to pay off that debt.
Okay. And so that it also, as far as what we have in the budget, we will have, part of our budget will be the continuation of paying the bonds. So when I say we don't have, so part of our budget for next year is the continuation of paying for the bonds, and.
Which pays it off, right?
If I look at that, are there only 3 more payments?
I think January 22
Yeah.
is our
So
final
there's-
payment.
so we got
Doesn't that
two-
sound right?
so-
January 22, it'll be paid off.
So we're done with this year, we've got 2 next year and 1, so there's only three
I
payments?
believe so.
And that's really gonna help the RDC, whoever's sitting on the commission, make some. So what is, just to throw something out there, what does anyone think about if we get to the point where we say we want to come up with the money through bonds or whatever to build a new police station? Would anybody, I mean, what are people's thoughts about, using that to assist with the RDC use of monies to help with the building of a new police station? I mean, that's just something I thought of.
I'm not sure that would be considered
Okay.
redevelopment.
Okay, not sure at this time, okay.
And also, I went through the police station and talked to the chief and the deputy chief. And the station is old. Needs more space or needs reorganized, but it needs a lot of work done. I understand the sewers there overflow quite often. So, I mean, it does, but I asked him specifically if it hindered them in doing their job. And he said, no, we will do our job even if the station isn't a new station. So, again, when I look at that, that's something that'd be wonderful down the line.
Sure, sure.
I think monies are used better someplace else right now.
Okay, okay, well, it's good to have that on the record, so. All right, so public comments, if we can move forward. I think we've taken care of public comments. I didn't go look at the, but if you got a public comment, come at us. Let us hear ya.
Again, Gary Hall, 238 South 6.
Thank you.
A couple things. First of all, again, Bonnie, if you want to approach, Committee Person Dickinson, if you want to approach the council,
Thank you.
I sincerely open that up, and I would challenge you all on the 8th of September to all attend, and we can have a really nice long meeting and discuss this openly. If we go back,
That's a budget meeting of the council?
no, that's the city council meeting.
Oh.
Monday is a holiday, the 7th,
Okay,
therefore
okay.
it's on the 8th, at 7 PM. You're all, it's a personal invitation. No questions should not be answered. Hold your council persons accountable, period.
Yes.
Okay? With that, the mindset, Nathan, it's a thing like I've heard other members of your committee say, well, this is the way it's always been. That's why we're messed up. If you retool, and I think the council, the attorney's comment was about, if it's a road, but yet the sewers are all linked together, okay? So it's a common denominator of, if we do improvements in one area, it's gonna benefit everyone. So if you do trunk lines all the way up to a resident's point of property line, we as a city benefit from that. So any money that the RDC invest into our city, that's a great thing. Paint on the basketball court, we're going in the winter. By spring, it's gonna be peeled. Be real, right? And I'm looking at you guys, because I'm hoping you're listening to me. If we do things where it's not maintenance, you're literally, I talk to engineers, I talk to people in the city, Beech Grove. They don't like to talk, but they'll talk to you about stuff. It's a thing where, I think President Lampton referred to in November, the mayor's proposing a bond for $600,000 for lining. Okay, it's physics. Talk to engineers. You got a pipe, you line it, you're still moving the same amount of mass. We need new lines. We need new transfer. Everything needs to be new. So do we do 2% a year? Depending on the money, the bond's gonna be paid off in three payments. Again, this is good news. It's really good news, but yet we have to have the projection to see things. Okay, and you guys aren't doing that. We have to look together. So if we came together and reshuffled our priorities too as a council, okay, we could look out for the citizens. Right now, the money could be spent wiser. And I'll get with Mr. Kaufman. I know he's doing the budget, and I respect Jim's newness to the position. Much like many of you, okay, and like Mrs. Lamping as well, for the budget for the RDC. But if we were unified and had goals, I'll ask you right now, what's your number one goal for the RDC next year? Do you guys have anything?
That's
do.
And
what
that's a question your financial
Yeah.
advisor asked me back in June, back here in the room. And no one could answer the question.
Mine is this is CSX,
CSX.
Just, well,
Okay.
property, Heritage Group.
Okay, thank you. So within the Heritage Group, you have a multi-million-dollar company, money at will, okay? And we're gonna pay for things for their infrastructure. Now, just think about that. Think about that. Don't you think we should spend our money else wisely instead of their infrastructure? Now, we are, in December, if I remember correctly, the council, which I was not a part of, voted and gave that land at the entrance away to them, gave it to them. You guys aware of that? What's our
Yeah.
return on investment for that? Nothing. So again, as a city, we gave away property. That's something we can never have more. I mean, we're landlocked, but we're giving property to a multi-million-dollar company. Now you want to give them money for infrastructure that nothing's guaranteed. Remember back in November when it was election, the mayor stood right here, took all the warm fuzzies for bringing Milestone here. Well,
we're not
I
gonna
got
criticize.
that. Thank you very much.
We're not gonna stand here and criticize.
Excuse me, I think I have.
Yeah, well,
thank you.
you've got so
So
many
from
minutes
that,
too.
excuse me?
You've got, we're limited, we
You
limit,
just added on to them, thank you for that. From that though, we have to have vision. And do we have that as a body? Ask that citizen on Third Avenue or the citizen on 20th Avenue. Ask these folks what we can do. And then also, something came up as I never thought about this. Legal question. So again, President Lamping contacted your guys' legal counsel to discuss something that we talked about at the council. That's, why was that necessary if it was already
If you want
discussed?
to criticize.
No, I'm asking you a question.
And you know, I'm not gonna answer, I don't have an answer for that. I'm not even sure what you're getting at, Mr., I'm not, and this, you know,
Mr.
this
Hall.
meeting's about the RDC. We
That's what
were-
it is. It's
we-
about
We were
your-
having comments, public comments should be limited, and I apologize for not limiting the amount of time for public comments. And if you're referring to the time I talked to Mr. Runn, I think as the RDC president, I'm allowed any time to talk to the attorney about issues that pertain to the RDC,
So
okay?
as a, okay, start my clock now then. So as a committee, do you guys, men and women, think it's kind of odd for her to double check what we've already discussed as a council?
That's why I brought it up.
Okay, didn't know that, okay. So my thing is like this, whatever those monies were, and again, you're a professional, you get paid for your time, I understand that, but was it necessary? That's what
Yes, it
we-
was.
That's
Yes,
what
it
we.
was.
So even what was voted on by the council, you're going behind the council's body's back.
My,
and asking
my
for-
time that I spoke with Mr. Runn was necessary. Yes, sir, it was necessary.
Okay,
Yes,
please
sir.
note that record, that's your president.
I don't believe there was a charge for it, but.
No, there wasn't.
That wasn't disclosed either, so thank you for that. That would have been nice to know earlier. So anyways, as a body of people, if we could come together and just work smarter, okay? Okay, do you guys have any questions?
I do have a quick
Yes, sir.
comment. I think we might disagree a little bit on the CSX property because that's money that we will get in taxes back,
Yeah.
which we're not getting now. It's the same thing, when I was on the RDC, when we gave away the rock pile, that was actually my idea. Because we tried to sell it for 3 years.
Right.
We're getting nothing out of it. It was contaminated, we had a company come in, we gave them an idea of how much money they needed to spend for it to be, for us to get our money back in taxes, and I think the same thing should be given to CSX before we just open a check. We need to know how much money, how many millions are they gonna spend so that we get that money back in taxes?
It'd be Heritage Group, not CSX.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's, no, that's
Thank
okay,
you.
okay, no, okay.
But I do think, I don't have a problem with RDC taking property and buying it and then having a contract with somebody as long as it's not a not-for-profit, because we've got enough of that in Beech Grove already. And then in turn, they pay taxes over the next 200 years to the city of Beech Grove. That's a win-win.
And you can help me out with the number, the value of that CSX property, the revenue source that CSX was a few dollars, correct?
Appraised at $70.
$70. So
But
for us,
isn't it contaminated to where it can't be?
Yeah, but again,
You know-
if they're gonna clean it up,
they're cleaning it
That's
up.
why they're not theirs, because they moved.
but the Heritage Group is there.
Heritage
Okay,
Group
so-
owns it.
Well, thank you for that question, but can I ask you a question on top of your question? So they're cleaning it up, they're scraping the surface. They're scraping the surface. How far are they gonna go? And what's now their projected growth as far as development?
And those are all questions.
And those are
So
questions
before you-
past the RDC. Those
So
are,
before you commit that money,
Yeah.
maybe that should be asked.
Oh,
You see?
absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, those are all decisions that would have to be made later on, but
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
just talking about the base principle of giving away property with the
yes,
promise of
yes,
taxes.
we'll stick
being
to the
paid in
point.
future.
Okay.
We'll stick to the point, because those are questions those are not RDC-related questions. So thank you for public comments. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
And you don't want to answer that question though,
I'm not even sure what your question is.
about the legal?
I feel confident in my decision-making to address the legal counsel as the president of the RDC. Yes, sir, I did, and I appreciate you asking that question. Thank you. So with that being said, if I have a motion for adjournment.
Elizabeth, Madam President, just for clarification.
Sure.
So you have a right to speak to council about RDC and not divulge what you spoke about to us?
We spoke,
No, I don't want you to tell me what you spoke to him about. Do you have a right to
I will-
discuss RDC business with him and not divulge it to us?
from now on, I will keep notes and I will document every conversation I have with Mr. Runn that has to do with RDC. And I appreciate that.
And
if
share
I'm in
it.
the wrong, if I'm in the wrong, I will admit it, I'll own it. And if I had a conversation in preparing during COVID, during a pandemic, and I was trying to pull off a telephonic meeting to get all of our work done, a telephonic meeting, and then then we had to meet the guidelines, the mandatory guidelines of what an RDC commission had to do as president. And I was trying to during a time when the governor had a shut down on meetings, then yes. And if it had to do with that, I'm sorry, Mrs. Dickinson, if I did not document word for word, time for time, when I talked to Mr. Runn about issues during a pandemic, I apologize. But these were, anytime I had a conversation with Mr. Runn, it had to do clearly with the workability and the guidelines and the mandatory measures for the RDC. And
thank you, but
You're welcome.
I understood that,
You're
I don't
welcome.
know, maybe Mr. Hall wasn't speaking to what I thought he was speaking to. I thought he was speaking to you talking to the legal counsel about the new RDC members. That's
And
what I
said-
thought.
told
Is
you
that
what
what?
I told you what that was about. I wasn't sure the voting, how the voting
Right,
process.
right, but
So
that's, I don't need to go there. Just from what you were saying, you sounded like you were saying, I'll talk to him about whatever I want to, and I don't need to tell you.
Well,
I wanted to
if-
clarify that that was or wasn't the truth.
Then that was clearly the wrong way to get the message across, and I apologize.
So you do not discuss things with him that you will not share with
No.
us? Okay,
No.
thank you.
No.
Thank you.
No.
I feel better
No.
about that.
But there should be a caveat. Some discussions are not for public meetings on.
Right, for
children's
public
plan.
meetings, but they should be shared with us. Yes, okay, okay.
So, thank you, everybody. Good dialogue, good discussion. It's good to get to know each other. So with that, can I have a motion to adjourn the
No,
meeting?
excuse me, I have
Yeah.
one other thing. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Coming into the RDC, which thank you again, I thank everyone who did give me the opportunity to do it, because I really want to be a part of our city. But, once I was on, no one told me what to do. I wasn't told to get my email to someone. I wasn't told to, that the mayor had to swear me in. I wasn't told that I had to sign, whatever that form was. And I wasn't given any information about what the RDC does. So, I have a suggestion that the RDC put together a booklet that tells what the steps are when you become a new member. Okay, so you're just appointed. This is what you need to do. You need to get your email to so-and-so. You need to sign these forms. You need to, go on the website, look here, look there to see what we do. I just think it would be very helpful to have just a little booklet to hand to someone, email to someone, and say, here's your steps. Because no one reached out to me and told me what to do until after I started saying, hey,
I'm gonna back up a little bit, because I requested the night that you were appointed to get your correct email, so I could get it, you in the email group, okay? And then you were emailed, Mr. Kaufman emailed the disclosure, the agreement that you needed to sign for, and then you.
he did, but not until I
but
was
you-
digging around trying
But
to
you-
find out what to
but
do.
you yourself said that you recognized that all these emails of communication went to your
No,
spam.
No, I didn't say
Okay,
all
okay.
these.
Okay,
I didn't get anything.
okay,
And then, when you said that you had sent something Saturday morning, I looked, and it was in my spam. Before, there was nothing.
Okay.
Nothing was said about forms to be signed
Okay.
and being sworn in. So I could have come here tonight without anything, and then I wouldn't have been a part of the RDC. So, I just suggest that you make a little booklet. It can be an e-booklet, just an email, that you just send every new member.
well, we are volunteers, I work full-time and I have a house, I can talk with Kathy, she can come up with an idea to make up a little something, but if you would like to make something up, you're welcome to do
I
that.
can definitely do it, but
You
I
are
don't
welcome.
feel that is my
You are
job. That
welcome.
would be.
Well, we're a commission as members, and I am allowed as president to allocate jobs to the members, so.
You can sure
you
do
can. That would be your job project, Bonnie.
You've
That-
already given me one,
That's-
remember?
That is your project, that is and you're an RDC member, and welcome to the projects.
Thank you.
So that is your project, Bonnie. Thank you so much for the volunteer.
So you are saying that if I put this booklet together, it will be sent to every new member when they become part of the
If that,
RDC?
absolutely, well, we can vote on, we can look it over as a commission.
Right.
We can look it over as a commission and make that decision. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. You're welcome. Yes. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
All motion?
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you.